we have to talk about Palantir. We absolutely cannot forget about Palantir. Is that an RPG class? I guess it's my fault. I haven't talked much about Palantir on stream because, I don't know, man. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Palantir is a data aggregation company. They work heavily with AI, and one of their founders is Peter Thiel. They're run by largely Tech Valley, Silicon, Great Cathedral type fascists. And guess what? They've just been tapped in to harvest data on Americans, presumably using all of the data that was scraped out by DOGE. Remember how DOGE was copying enormous amounts of data from the administrative agencies that they were overseeing, transferring them to private servers? Remember how judges tried to stop them from doing that and they maybe stopped? Well, someone new is coming in. Let's go. In March, Trump signed an executive order calling for the federal government to share data across agencies. This is really bad, raising questions over whether he might compile a master list of personal information on Americans that could give him untold surveillance power. Yes. Mr. Trump has not publicly talked about the effort since, but behind the scenes, officials have quietly put technological building blocks into place to enable his plan. In particular, they have turned to one company, Palantir, the data analysis and technology firm. Their work has been expanded across the federal government in recent months. The company has received more than $113 million in federal government spending since Trump took office, according to public records, including additional funds from existing contracts as well as new contracts with the Department of Homeland Security and the Pentagon. This does not include an $800 million contract that the Department of Defense awarded the company last week, which has not been spent. Nice. Okay, but who's actually responsible for this? Because we know it isn't Trump. Palantir. Oh, these people are their own power brokers. Again, Peter Thiel is one of their founders. No, these people are the cybertech dystopia types. These are the epitome of the Sam Altman. The social contract will have to be rewritten because of AI types. These are the people who fantasize about a world where they have complete control over everything and everyone using an unparalleled surveillance state. This is totalitarianism in a modern age. These are the enemy, exactly. These aren't just oligarchs that are looking for a cheap thrill and a little bit of political power, right? These aren't just like I mean, I guess to an extent Elon, because he's kind of too stupid to be involved in this at the ground level. But this isn't just like Zuckerberg or whatever. I mean, these people are ideologically the enemy, kind of like the main boss, if you want to take it that. If you're from Reddit and you like your Soylent, then this would kind of be what they are. It's not great at all. Yeah, they're enemies of humanity. The push has put a key Palantir product called Foundry into at least 4 federal agencies, including the DHS and the Health and Human Services Department. Widely adopting Foundry, which organizes and analyzes data, paves the way for Trump to easily merge information from different agencies. The goal, essentially, is to create a profile of every single human being in America, eventually on Earth, that allows every agency from the government to know everything about you at all times. The federal government, local police, corporations, the people who sell you advertisements, the people who sell you products, your existence, your entire life will be a data package that they can use to optimize every possible outcome they want from you. Whether that means imprisoning you or selling you grocery store items at a higher price. When you make it to the counter, it turns out things are upcharged for you because of certain, whether it's what you pay for insurance. Yeah, if you're in a foreign country, it could be whether or not you get targeted for airstrikes. Depending on your political affiliations, if you are a member of pro-union groups and social media, congratulations, you're not getting hired by certain companies. Why would they hire you? You're a potential liability. Are you anti-Israel? Have you ever criticized the United States military? Creating detailed portraits of Americans based on government data is not just a pipe dream. The Trump administration has already sought access to hundreds of data points on citizens and others through government databases, including their bank account numbers, the amount in their student debt, their medical claims, and any disability status. You want to save up money for retirement? Well, unfortunately for you, your credit rating and your bank are both your bank account information are both communicated to every org that you're ever going to rent from. If you have extra money, why wouldn't your landlord charge you more money for rent? They know you have it. Every detail that makes up your life in a empirical sense open and visible to everyone. This is essentially the final goal. I know this doesn't matter anymore because nothing matters, but is this legal, like Congress-wise? Some of what I'm describing is, and some of what I'm describing isn't. But they'll get rid of everything they need to from a legal perspective, like what people use in China. I'm afraid that this is far more sophisticated than what they use in China. It's the end goal. It's the final state. It's the how do I put it? There are the material forces that are guiding us towards much in the same way that certain technological and social reforms allowed for capitalism to develop over feudalism, right? This is the next state. Mercantile economic systems, they give way to laissez-faire capitalism. They give way to this kind of like neoliberal corporate statehood. And it moves now into this. This is kind of like a new paradigm. It is cyberpunk shit, unfortunately, but you're not getting the glowing neon or the mohawks or the cool like biker gangs in leather. You're getting more of the same. No meaningful social or technological innovations that affect your day-to-day life, but every element of your life in an empirical sense is getting tracked, monitored, and weaponized by people who hate you. What's after the evil surveillance state? Death? Well, everyone dies eventually. Bank account numbers, the amount of their student debt, their medical claims, and any disability status. The bourgeoisie are winning. How do we even come back from that? It's reasonably possible that there might be no winning after this. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I would say there's a non-zero chance of this being an actual end state of history. That the specific combination of like social and technological forces might create an unwinnable, at least for a time, an unwinnable dynamic. Trump could potentially use such information to advance his political agenda by policing immigrants and punishing critics. Democratic lawmakers and critics have said. Privacy advocates, student unions, and labor rights organizations have filed lawsuits to block data access, questioning whether the government could weaponize people's personal information. Well, yeah, of course, they can, and they will. That's what I was referencing, District Progressive. Palantir's selection as a chief vendor for the project was driven by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. I've heard of those guys. According to the government officials, at least 3 DOGE members formerly worked at Palantir, while 2 others have worked at companies funded by Peter Thiel, an investor and founder of Palantir. This is what I mean when I say, like, this is the end state. A lot of stuff is being done specifically for the benefit of these people. Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance, the Heritage Foundation, the weaponization of, like, evangelical Christianity as a weapon for advancing the interests of a few Silicon Valley, like, tech oligarch types. This goes beyond just, like, a few grifters trying to make money off the administration. This is, like, an end state. It's an end goal. Some current and former Palantir employees have been unnerved by the work. The company risks becoming the face of Mr. Trump's political agenda, 4 employees said, and could be vulnerable if data on Americans is breached or hacked. Irrelevant. Several tried to distance the company from the efforts, saying any decisions about a merged database of personal info rest with Mr. Trump and not the firm. Yeah. This month, 13 former employees signed a letter urging Palantir to stop its endeavors with Mr. Trump. Linda Jia, a signee who was a Palantir engineer until last year, said the problem was not with the company's tech, but with how the Trump administration intended to use it. Aww. Did somebody with high technological intelligence but low social intelligence believe that the all-seeing eye named Palantir that was capable of aggregating data using AI and distilling it for the interests of the elite? You thought there was a good way this could be used? It's called fucking Palantir, man. Data that's collected for one reason should not be repurposed for other uses. What do you think your company did? How are these people so smart yet so retarded at the same time? It's Silicon Valley. It's what happens when you give autistic, high IQ engineers literally no mandated humanities or ethical training. In an interview last year, Mr. Karp, Palantir's chief executive, said the company's role was the finding of hidden things by sifting through data. Mr. Trump's election in November boosted Palantir's stock, which has risen more than 140% since then. Oh yeah, they've been helping ICE for a while. I think they lied about that to the public, but they've been helping ICE for quite some time. The work is part of a $30 million contract that ICE signed with Palantir in April to build a platform to track migrant movements in real time. This means, in its end goal, aggregating not only like their known movements or like court appearances, but also surveillance data from security cameras on the street, license plate readers, credit card information. Anytime they buy something with a credit card at a place, you just have this master system. Drones following? Drones have been flying over American cities for a long time. Big surveillance planes fly over American cities with sophisticated cameras pointing downward with resolutions high enough that sometimes they can make out like details about cars and people. You know, it wouldn't actually take that much of an expansion of the existing system to track basically anyone at any time. It doesn't matter if you're a criminal, you might be in the future. Real Minority Report shit. Not to mention Palantir has been helping Israel aggregate data on all Palestinians and anyone in Gaza. Yeah, it's a real like colonial feedback loop, right? Like the reason we support Israel is because we have high profile tech and military contractors who use them as a testing ground for the surveillance and military techniques that our government wants to use elsewhere, including on us. I'm getting stressed. How do we stop this? Or do we just live in the woods? They would see you in the woods. Here's him saying our AI is killing Palestinians. It's a YouTube short. I hate YouTube shorts because they autoplay. Oh.
If you said platitudes that a few people get wealthy, and if you said platitudes that were obviously stupid, you could...
You're getting wealthy off of killing Palestinians with Palantir kills Palestinians with their AI and technology.
Oh.
You're killing my family in Palestine.
Yeah. And, you know...
What kind of person are you? How do you sleep at night?
Well, if you...
Shame on you.
Do you want to hear my answer?
Not wearing dress socks, wearing crew socks with a suit.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so
You might notice he loves this, by the way. These people are inhuman. They're psychopaths. They're not like us at all. These people are, in a very real way, far more evil than the average, like, neo-Nazi you see on Twitter, celebrating the death of trans kids or whatever, because these people aren't like the hapless victims of their own insecurities and propaganda. These people are literally the orchestrators of civilizational downfall. They're not just, like, passive enjoyers of evil. They create it at industrial levels.
I think the primary cause of death to Palestinians. Okay, do you want to hear the answer, or do you want to yell? Well, you don't want to hear an answer? Obviously. So the primary source of death in Palestine is the fact that Hamas has realized that there are millions and millions of useful idiots that will.
Using that excuse, this is why you don't get left to speak, because you are killing my people and you're justifying it because of Hamas or anyone else.
Can we get security up there?
Okay. Your AI and your technology from Palantir kills Palestinians.
Mostly terrorists. That's true.
No.
Of course, it's worth remembering, like, he's not a Zionist ideologically, right? At least not necessarily. Like, this is to him just a showcase of his technology. He doesn't care about people. It is nothing, like, again, like, to him, Israel's just a testing ground, right? He might be racist against Palestinians, but I suspect, like, it's probably just he doesn't care about, like, life as a concept. You know what I mean? It's just a demo. Because, like, he's going to preside over this being done to us. You know? Are we going to be slaves or are they going to kill us? Stop asking stupid rhetorical questions. It takes energy for me to read them and dislike you for them. Palantir reps have also held talks with the Social Security Administration and the Department of Education to use the company's tech to organize the agency's data, according to 2 Palantir employees and officials in those agencies. The goal of you... I would love for one of those abundance people to talk about this, by the way. I would love, like, in terms of, like, muddying the waters, diluting responsibility, and acting as though this isn't fundamentally a problem with power differences. I'm really curious what liberals have to say about the actual, like, end of civil society. Not just the end of democracy. Civil society can exist in an authoritarian government. In fact, it often does. This wouldn't just be the end of democracy. This would be the end of human society as we understand it. This is an end state worthy of the exaggerated dystopias that we've written about, you know? Like, this is, it's like, you can say it because it's an exaggeration, but this is 1984. That's not really a joke. It is, like, it is a realization technologically of the same social goals that they were looking to accomplish. Moving to Canada? What, so you can follow me? Get away from me, freak. If I move to a country, it's not going to be one that has the same car dependency as the United States. The goal of uniting data on Americans has been quietly discussed by Palantir engineers, employees said, adding they were worried about collecting so much sensitive information in one place. The company's security practices are only as good as the people using them, they said. What no material analysis does to some motherfuckers. Building the torment nexus. I love my politically neutral torment nexus. I just hope no bad actors ever take power over it. You know, I hope it only gets used by good people so that they can use the torment nexus for good. All it does is torment people, but surely somebody will find a good use for it. Wouldn't a 1984 type situation require these people were as competent as they are evil? The people who run Palantir are extremely competent. Fascist incompetence doesn't come from being evil. It comes from the fact that their particular brand of ignoring reality and their public messaging, it forces them to, well, ignore reality. It's an engagement with the public. But the people working behind the scenes, like Palantir, they're not ignoring reality at all. They might support people who ignore reality for political purposes, but their goals are pretty, well, I would say rational. It's evil beyond belief. They're rational in the sense that they're working with an acknowledgement of reality. They characterize some DOGE employees as sloppy on security, such as not following protocols and how personal devices were used. I love the implication that that's the real threat, like DOGE workers leaking data rather than the data being contained and used by the state or by Palantir, you know? Like, oh, no, the threat of the torment nexus is that some people might, like, construct it poorly rather than it might be used. Last week, a Palantir strategist, Brianna Catherine Martin, posted on LinkedIn she was departing the company because of its expanded work with ICE. For most of my time here, I found the way that Palantir grappled with the weight of our capabilities to be refreshing, transparent, and conscionable, she wrote. This has changed for me over the past few months. For me, this is a red line I won't draw. F***ing morons, dude. Jesus Christ. What do you think the point of this was? The leaders of Palantir have all been, like, fascist, Trump-supporting, genocide-supporting freaks from day one. Like, God. Yeah, no perspective, no analytical abilities, just no ability to see the arc that's being cast out in front of you, you know? You're just an idiot. You're like a fish. You're just blubbing around in the ocean. Blub blub. You have no idea. You're just being you're being brought by currents. You have no idea. It's infuriating. They don't believe smart people can be evil. Yes, that's actually a very common misconception from people who have high intelligence, I guess, broadly, but low social intelligence. They think that when bad things happen, it's because people are stupid. In reality, overwhelmingly, when bad things happen, it's because people are indifferent, careless, or have different moral values than you do. It's like does stupidity cause problems across the board? Absolutely. But the real problems, the real social decay, very rarely is it because of stupidity. It's because powerful people don't care about you and they're okay with bad outcomes, or at least okay with acting brazenly without consideration of those bad outcomes as long as it favors them in the short term. In other words, evil is often, directed, deliberate, and a consequence of a difference in material interests, not just because people have a low IQ. I can't believe I'm joining this train, but this is actually despair-inducing. Oh, no. This is like actual end time stuff. This right here is right up there with climate apocalypse and human civilization. This is your end screen. You've severed the connection of fate. For the rest of all time on our planet, forevermore will this cast a shadow on our ability to live. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Yeah, the real damaging thing is that unlike fascism, this kind of technocratic, oligarchical, not even like a surveillance state. It goes beyond. It's like what do they call it? Like a panopticon. This permanent panopticon, you know, might actually be a stable social system. Stable doesn't necessarily mean good. For a long time, slavery was a stable system. In fact, slavery was largely destabilized by the Industrial Revolution, which meant that a significant amount of labor could be achieved better with a higher level of education. Otherwise, slavery might very well still be practiced widely, even in the developed world. What we think of as the developed world, you know. It was an unlodging, not just because of people's moral values changing, but because of people's industrial needs changing. This might end up being a stable system. Good vid by More Perfect Union about that. Yeah, I like More Perfect Union. You know, why not? Give me, sure. Yeah. Better that than just reading another article which rephrases what we saw from the New York Times.
I want to play for you one of the most chilling clips.
Yeah, but Marx assumed we wouldn't become slaves. Marx did actually write on the ability for the production of capitalist propaganda from the capital elite to sustain a more or less indefinite population of lumpenproll. Though obviously, no, I don't think Marx could have predicted f***ing Palantir.
I've ever heard. And just hold on and trust me, because it's not that chilling until you realize what it means.
The basic idea was that we could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through a technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics.
That's tech billion.
Yep, that's pretty straightforward right there. Literally a fascist argument. No, it's not. A fascist would make an appeal to the public. These people aren't fascists. They support fascists, but they're, again, there's like it's what's the term that Teal likes? The cathedral. They're like ultra technocrats. They are. The whole point is to circumvent politics entirely. That through technology you can skip something that every leader in human history has had to have before, which is the mandate of the masses. You know. Either people's support for the legal system or people's fear of being killed by the army or support of the army or whatever, you know, you need to manage the people. And what he's arguing essentially is that we might now technologically have a way to avoid needing to manage the people.
Billionaire and Republican megadonor Peter Thiel speaking at a Libertopia, a libertarian conference in 2010. He's basically saying that his political ideology is so unappealing that it'll never win elections. And that's one thing he's right about, because he's railed against women having the right to vote, complained so much about diversity, and written some really disgusting stuff about sexual assault and consent. But he knows that he can use technology as a unilateral alternative to politics, and that should really freak you out. Thiel is one of the co-founders and biggest investors in Palantir, a CIA-funded technology company.
Was this inevitable? In a society where capital can run amok like this and basically no oversight is given to Silicon Valley? Yes. In the long run of things, no. But unfortunately, like, this shit needs to be inscribed in the mind of every person born, every person who lives. You have to understand, you cannot trust them. The bourgeois are not human, okay? You cannot trust them with this.
That has contracts across the government for their data software. Here's their CFO speaking a few years ago.
We continue to advance our mission of becoming the U.S. government's central operating system as we extend our footprint across defense, healthcare, and civilian agencies.
And while both President Obama and Biden did sign Palantir contracts, President Trump is taking it way further.
Perfect example of the bipartisan consensus on this, by the way. Yeah, Trump may be like escalating everything rapidly, but the underlying problems, much like Obama expanding the Department of Homeland Security significantly, like, this is like, the Democrats will not fix this.
With ICE, something literally called Immigration OS, and the IRS. So 15 years ago, Peter Thiel, like the supervillain in a movie explaining his plan to the hero, admitted that he can use technology to get his ideas across when they're unpopular, completely subverting democracy. And today, one of his technology companies is gaining more and more power within the government, building the very systems our government relies on. And oh yeah, this is the CEO.
The central risk to Palantir and America and the world is a regressive way of thinking that is corrupting and corroding our institutions, that calls itself progressive, but actually, and is called woke, but is actually a form of a thin pagan religion.
If you're a progressive, if you have progressive values, meaning you just, care about other people, the CEO of the company building America's technological back end thinks of you as the central risk. He thinks of you as the enemy. Are these the people you want running the systems you rely on?
So yeah, anyway, Palantir just got a bunch of new contracts to combine information from our health department, Department of Homeland Security. They already work with the military. You can expect, like, yeah, this seems like it's pretty much happening. I don't really know what could stop it at this point, to be honest with you. Inside leaks won't change a thing. Their incompetence, they're pretty competent. The Rapture? Maybe. Solar flare? Maybe. collapse of the USA government. Honestly, at this point, it's possible that even if the American government collapses, the palantir would be able to puppet it. What solace are you taking as the world's ending? You seen my sick-ass chore jacket? I'm gonna get such nice fades in the indigo in this. I'm gonna, like, work out in it. Vosh doesn't have answers, just despair. You can complain about me dooming, but unfortunately, like, anyone who gives you a more optimistic outlook than I am right now is lying to you. Unfortunately, a lot of you like to consume this content as a fulfillment of a particular emotional state. You like to feel smarter than your opponents, which, given our opponents, by and large, are pretty dumb. You probably are. You like to feel, you know, they're stupid, their arguments are laughable. Often they are, sure. But this is really, really bad. And anyone who sells it to you in any other way, I mean, this is real. I'm sorry. Yeah, it sucks. I live here too. I also live in this country, on this planet. But no, it's shockingly bad. And you know what? If a Democrat won tomorrow, I don't think they would change a thing. There is absolutely no reason to believe that Democrats are willing to do anything about this in terms of AI, in terms of palantir, in terms of corporate surveillance. There is no reason to believe the Democrats are even remotely interested in addressing this. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's actually over. It just means that I don't know what would end it. Maybe it collapses due to problems I can't really foresee. It's a really complicated system. I don't know what that would look like exactly, but I acknowledge the fact that I don't know everything. I don't know the future, right? But no, it's quite bad. It's quite bad. Are there any countries that we could escape to? This level of surveillance can only exist through the assistance of the government. The government needs to facilitate an enormous surveillance state and provide the information that it pulls together. No matter how sophisticated surveillance it takes a lot of money and a lot of bureaucracy to observe that many people. I don't know. Maybe the European Union sees what happens to the United States and they start getting like even further crackdowns on this stuff. But I don't really know. Now the same cyber fascist trends are here too. Well, I don't know if that could stop it. AI could bypass it and infect all tech. AI doesn't infect tech. It's a program. It's not actually intelligent. We have absolutely no metric by which we can evaluate that. You know, it's just a black box if and analytical program that we use to, or that Palantir uses to assess data, or I don't know, make funny images or whatever. It's not magical. If there's a radicalizing force towards Ludditism, it'll certainly be the consequences of this. Has anyone read Kurt Vonnegut's Player Piano? It kind of sucks that, like, the idea would be if tech is destroying everyone's life, people would rise up against it, but in reality, 50% of the population would support the cops coming in to shoot anyone who so much as spray painted a security camera because they think the security camera protects them from woke or whatever. I don't know. This is your problem. You always underestimate the Democrats, Vosh. They would 100% make sure the surveillance operator is a black trans woman. That's true. You're not wrong. Yes, sir.